I might as well start and try. If I'm gonna talk out loud to God, I might as well just record it because I have been very, bashful's not the right word. I'm more just like cowardly about starting the actual YouTube channel where I document the process of me healing. And it's mostly because I don't I don't like the internet. I don't like being on the internet. People are mean, and I grew up in the generation where we saw like iPhones coming out and then like online bullying getting worse. So I'm kind of a coward in that area. So here goes. I am in the middle of talking with my pastor about a situation that has me feeling hurt, but I'm having a hard time processing and receiving, and like I don't know what to do about it. So Lord, I need you to open my heart and maybe my brain cells, for sure my brain cells, because I don't know how to receive that. And I think it's just like, part of me feels like it's communication, meaning like me and my pastor communicate in two different ways. He is logical, I am emotional, and I, as you will learn, am very traumatized in a lot of different ways, and I both advocate and neglect myself in that area, meaning like, no, I need to be spoken to in a very specific way for me to receive, but also I don't take the time or effort to really communicate that, because I feel like if I communicate my needs and they're rejected, I'm gonna feel some type of way about it, and that's not good for anyone involved. And I try not to do that. So like the whole point of this is that I'm feeling really vulnerable, and I'm not good at feeling that way, not in public. So I am talking to my pastor about this thing that happened, and oh, poor bird, it's so sad. There's a pothole. Anyways, I have no idea if this is actually gonna work and if like you can hear anything, but at least I'll be able to have talked it out. Yeah, his response of the first part was like, and I'm saying this is not verbatim, I am quoting off of what I read and what I remember about it. I can look back and like look at it and see what he actually said, because this is not about coming after people, and I think the internet is really good at doing that. And so I like to preface with, all of these videos and all of my thoughts and feelings aren't permanent. They're not permanent, meaning this whole process is me thinking out loud, healing, doing the hard things, and documenting it. Because I also struggle with ever feeling like I'm doing enough, or I've grown, or I've changed, or I've healed. And a lot of this is for me to be able to be like, oh, I have grown, because I can look back and see how I responded. I can see how I worked through it. I also don't have any history with, not romance, but what do you call it? Community, family, not in healthy ways. I grew up as a foster kid. I was adopted at 5, put back at 14. That's lore for another time. So I'm trying to, despite my nervous system kind of screaming at me and wanting to run away, I'm trying to like stick it out, because logically and rationally I see that my people at church, my pastor, they're good people, right? But I'm also feeling very invalidated. Like it could be done differently, and I'm having a hard time receiving it. And I'm able to recognize I'm having a hard time receiving it, but I'm also able to recognize that they are speaking truth. But then there's parts of it where I'm just like, I don't know if that's how I would put that. you know? And that's where I'm having a really hard time. So I mentioned to him that I was having feelings and kind of feeling dejected, rejected, and kind of like unloved, which is not uncommon for me to feel, especially my history. About how we had a conversation between me, another pastor, and him, and I felt like I wasn't being heard. I felt like I was trying to communicate. Like, we were water and oil. We were what I call perpendiculating. We were making two different points, having to try and have one conversation with two different points. So we were kind of just like, and I've been emotionally raw. I have been for a while. And so my response to him after one of his sermons, I was like, hey, like, I have to be honest with you because I'm trying to like learn how to communicate my feelings when I feel them, instead of sitting on them and kind of simmering in them and like stewing in them, and then all of a sudden like coming from a place of already like mentally dejected, mentally like I'm already like I processed it in my own brain in a negative light, and now I'm just like coming from a place of like anger. So I'm trying not to do that. And so I sent him a text message. I was like, hey, this is how I feel about like your last sermon, and this is like, these are my feelings. And one of the things I said was like, I feel hurt, and like I feel like, I don't know if I said it was unfair, but basically the consensus was I feel some type of way about how it took me having a PTSD/panic attack in order to be heard, right? Like, our conversation was not going well. And then trying to like communicate like, hey, I'm not receiving this right now. Like, I was super emotional, and I ended up having a panic attack and PTSD attack. And my other pastor, she was like, all right, let's take a minute. I asked for ice packs because that's one of my coping mechanisms to pull me out of a PTSD or a panic attack. And so, and after that, we were able to kind of just like stop, break it down, and then like there was resolution in the end. So I'm like, okay, there was resolution, but I still feel this way, right? Like, after the fact, like, we resolved one issue, right? And agreed to kind of just like start over. Mind you, I've been going to this church for 3 years, and just kind of start over in the trusting process and like building trust and like building that relationship, like just kind of like be like, okay, let's try again. And but now, and I feel so annoyed by it now, I feel like I'm in the process of like, okay, yeah, one problem solved, but in the solving of that one problem, another problem has arisen. And he responded to me, and like he's a good pastor. I cannot emphasize how much that he speaks so much truth. But so I explained that to him, that like I feel this way and this is how I feel, and he went over it and he was like, okay, like I'm gonna point out, well, like I'm gonna quote what you said, and then I'm gonna point out the lies in them. And I was like, okay. Well, he sent the text messages all at once, and so as he's like pointing them out, I'm like, okay, solid. He gets to the one where it has to do with my panic attack, and he was like, what I see was that we were confronting you about gossiping, and you did not receive that well, and instead deflected and started pointing out like problems in other people, that in the first relationship aspect of what we were talking about, the whole reason we were there. And from there, I became frustrated with your response, and then you had a panic attack. I was like, I don't agree with that. Like, let me see if I can pull it up. Okay, so I wrote it all down, and this is actually my second time making this video, which is totally okay. Because I think it's good to process, and then process again, and then maybe a third time. So the part that I specifically said was, he quoted me, and he was like, "Wonder why it took me having a panic attack / PTSD attack in order to be heard." Okay? And he was like, his response to that was, "I do not see this is the course of events that took place. My perspective of the situation was, I pointed out gossip, you were not receptive, and deflected to pointing out your perceived faults, and reflected to pointing out your perceived faults in others." He lists the names of the people that I had mentioned. Then, the other pastor, he says her name, and I'm keeping names out of this for personal reasons. I don't know how else to say it. "And I corrected the untrue things we heard you saying. And then was the panic attack. Then the Lord gave me wisdom for you to help you hear what we had been saying all along, and that word of wisdom is what turned our meeting around." So I feel like this is just such a dry analytical version of what happened. And again, like, as I mentioned, he is logical, I am emotional. Like, that is where we mostly reside when walking and navigating life. He's a very good pastor. He's very logical about a lot of things, and I am very emotional about a lot of things. And I think that's also just like naturally men and women, which is also okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm trying to like bridge the gap. So my issue with this is that this is very like, if I went to court, and I feel like this is what a court hearing would see. It was like a report instead of a conversation where I was feeling very vulnerable and very attacked in the moment, and not felt like I had a moment to breathe. Like, I felt very unprepared and very ambushed. And they did apologize for that after the panic attack. They're like, "We're sorry, like, we can see how that's how it came off, and that wasn't our intention, and we apologize for that." So it's not saying that resolution didn't happen. So I think what the next video will be about is about the context of what the conversation was about. And then I think that's where this YouTube channel will have to start, is what the conversation was about, which it was about my deliverances. I've had 2 so far. There's this notion, and like, I agree with it, that there needs to be a third. And well, that will lead to the conversation of what brought on the need for deliverance. So from there, you're just gonna start getting like a back view, which is gonna really suck for me, because it's like one of the most vulnerable things and like terrifying things that I had to like grow up with. And now I have to talk about it. And it's not that I have to talk about it, but it's like, if I'm starting with this, you need context. Like, you need the lore of it. And my God, buckle up, Buttercup, because grab your popcorn and your Bible, because this is for me, this is gonna suck, and that's okay, because it needs to happen, and I have wanted to talk about it for a very long time. So let's get into that in the next video. Give me a minute. Let me process, okay? Let me panic, and then you'll have your video.